Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. If this is your first time stopping by here, you're welcome. My name is Grace and on this channel I share sewing tutorials. In today's tutorial we're going to be learning how to make this Milkmaid Corset jumpsuit with a wide pant leg. If this is something you are interested in, dig into this video and watch to the end. Don't also forget that your support means a lot to me, so therefore I encourage you to like this video, share it and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Also let me know if you find the tutorial helpful in the comment section. Thank you. Let's start learning. So for this jumpsuit dress, these are the materials that I'm going to be making use of. So I have two different shades of Ankara here, and I have a crepe material also. So for this crepe material, I'm going to be using it for the pant area, and I have two trousers of crepe material here. If you are on a bigger size and you want your pants legs to be really wide like mine, then you might consider buying more trouser lengths of the crepe material. Also, this is the style inspiration that I'm going to be working with, so this is why I got two different shades of Ankara and also a crepe material. So I also have my pattern paper here, and I'm going to lay my pattern paper down now and start drafting. So the first thing that I'm going to be doing on my pattern paper is to place my vertical lines. So I'm just creating a starting line from there, and that starting line will serve as my shoulder line. Then from the shoulder line I came down by 8 inches for my chest line. To get your chest line, divide your bust measurement by 6 and add 2 inches to that. Then the last line I took was my bust point measurement, which is at 10 inches. Then I also draw a straight line across that 10 inches mark. Then starting from the shoulder line again, I'm going to take my under bust measurement, which is at 13 inches for mine, and I'll mark that and draw a straight line across that point also. Then I'll take my waistline measurement. Mine is at 16.5 inches. I'm going to place the marks there and draw a straight line across like this. Then I'm going to take the top length where I want this top to end at the front. So mine is at 23 inches and I'm going to draw a straight line across that also. So I'm going to label my lines. That's my shoulder line, that's my chest line, my bust point, my under bust, my waistline, and the full length, which is also the top length. Now on this shoulder line, I'm going to be dividing my shoulder measurements by 2. Mine is 16. That divided by 2 gives me 8. I placed it on the shoulder line and also on the chest line, and I'm going to connect those two lines together like that. Then I'm going to use the neck width and neck depth of 3 by 3, and I'll draw out a neckline. So this is just like a guide because we are not going to be using that part actually. Then on the shoulder line, I came down by 1 inch for my shoulder slope and connect that to the neckline. Then I'll get the midpoint of the straight line that I have here, come in by half of an inch, and also place my bust measurement divided by 4 on my chest line. Then I'll use that to create an armhole curve over there using my French curve. So the next thing that I'm going to do is to place my nipple to nipple measurement divided by 2. My nipple to nipple is 8 inches. That divided by 2 is going to give me 4. So I placed 4 inches on those 4 lines that you can see there, both the bust point, the under bust, the waistline, and the full length. So on the waistline, I'm going to come out of each side of the dart line by half an inch, then come down from the bust point by 1 inch, and I'm going to connect it as a normal dart like this, just the way you can see me doing it like this. I connected it to the full length. So I'm going to place my waist measurement divided by 4 on the waistline and replace what I have in between the darts, and I'll connect from my chest line to the waistline. Also on the full length of the top here, I'm going to be placing my hip measurements divided by 4, and I'll connect with my curved rule like that. Now I'm going to be determining how high or low I want my off shoulder to be, and I want my off shoulder to be at about 6.5 inches. So I just went up from my chest line, which is 8 inches, by 1.5 inch. So my off shoulder now is going to be at 6.5 inches. Now I'll go ahead and cut this front pattern out up to the off shoulder line that we created now before I use this front pattern to create my back pattern, I'll go ahead and measure where I want the basque waist to start at the waist area. So I'll be coming down from the waistline by 2.5 inches. Remember, my original waistline is at 16.5 inches. That plus 2.5 inch will give me 19 inches. So I'll measure 19 inches there, because the style inspiration I'm working with, the basque didn't start directly on the waistline. It went to the upper pelvic region. So that's what I just did here. But alternatively, you can maintain your waistline for this if you think you prefer that. So I just folded in that, or the other parts that are going to become the basque, and I'll place this now on another pattern paper to mark out the back pattern. So I'll go ahead and place this on another wider pattern paper, and I'll take note of my zipper allowance. So I'm just placing about 1.5 inch zipper allowance in the middle there before I go ahead and pin the front pattern. So I'm making sure I have up to 1.5 inch on the side before I pin it down. So now I'm going to mark where my waistline is, and from that point I'll go in with about 0.5 inch, and this is so that I can eliminate the zipper bulge that might occur when sewing this together. So I'll just go ahead and slantly connect that point to the top and also to the bottom of the pattern. So I'm just tracing out what I have on the remaining part of the pattern exactly the way I have it on the front, and I'm going to go ahead and also mark the darts area, like where the darts sat on both parts. So I'll mark it on the two sides, and I'll also mark where it ended at the top here. So I'm going to go ahead now and remove my pins. Then I'll go ahead and create my dart for the back also, just the way I've marked it, and I'll trace out the back pattern with my scissors. So this is very easy to do. So I'll also go ahead and trace off that part where I marked out because of the zipper's bulge. Now I'm going to open up my front pattern, and I'll work on this front pattern, creating my cup and also the basque waistline. So on this dart leg here, on the full length, I'll come out by 0.5 inch on both sides, and I'll connect that to the waistline, that area like that. So this is just to tighten that area up. Then to get my cup, this is the under bust. I'm going to be coming up from that line on each of the side by 0.5 inch. So I'll come up by 0.5 inch on that side, and also on this side by 0.5 inch, and I'll use my curved rule to connect that. So you can also maintain the straight under bust line. I just decided to do this. So I'm cutting this out, and that area now will serve as my cup. So the next thing that I'm going to do is to trace out these darts area that I have here. I'm going to cut it out completely, and I'm going to be using my paper tape to tape it together, because I don't want to have them in pieces. I don't want to have different pieces. I want that front to be on one piece. So I'm going to be using my paper tape to tape this down to make it in one piece, just like you see me doing it here like this. So after this, I'm going to be working on the basque waist area, and from that 2.5 inches that I came down by, I'm going to grab my curved rule. I'll mark that point very well. Then I'll take my curved rule, and from that point I'm going to use my marker to create a point right to the mid part of the pattern paper in front. So I'm going to be tracing off this, and I've successfully created a basque waistline. So these are the patterns that we're going to be making use of. That's the back pattern, this is the front, and that's the cup. Then I'm still going to be working on this cup because we can't use it directly like this. So to work on my cup, I'm going to place my tape on it like this and create intervals. So I'm making use of 1.5 inches intervals on the cup. because I want to use the slash and spread method to create a bigger cup for the ruched effects that we are going to be having on the cup. So I'm just using my ruler to mark out those intervals that I created now, and I'm going to cut them all out like this. So I'm also going to be numbering them so that I don't get confused. So I number them from 1 to 6, and I'll grab a bigger pattern paper, then I'll place them on it, and I'll give spaces of about 1 inch in between every of the cup pieces that I'm placing on this pattern paper. So depending on how full you want your gathers to be at the end of the day, you can add spaces in between as much as 1.5 and 2 inches. So I'm just tracing off what I have at the end of the day. I'm tracing everything, I'm tracing the shape, and I'm going to be removing the pieces from the new pattern paper after I've traced it out. So I'm removing everything, and I'll go ahead and cut this out now. So I'm just cutting out the new cup pattern. This is going to serve as the new cup pattern that we are going to be using to make the Milkmaid corset part. Now I have this part of the fabric folded into two like this, and I'm going to place my center front on the folded area. Then I'll go ahead and add the necessary allowance. So for the side, I'm going to be adding 1.5 seam allowance, which is going to be for the joining, and on the other part, the down part and the top, I'm going to be adding just 1/2 inch seam allowance. Then I'll go ahead and cut this out. So remember that the center front is folded, is on fold. I'll also go ahead and do the same thing with the back part. I'm also using this particular Ankara for the back. Also, I'll add 1.5 inch seam allowance to the side, add 1/2 inch to the down parts. To the side where the zip is going to also stay, I'm adding an 1/2 inch, and also to the top 1/2 inch. So I'll go ahead and also cut this out now. So for the cup also, I'm going to be using the other pattern of fabric for the cup, and I'm making sure that the center is also folded for the cup because I'm not going to be having it as separate pieces. And I also went ahead to add 1.5 inch to the side, and I'm using 1/2 inch seam allowance for the down and the top part also, just like I did for the front and the back pattern. So I'm going to be using the same pattern of Ankara that I used for the front and back for the sleeve also. So this fabric is already folded into 4, and I'm going to be using it to draft out an off shoulder sleeve. And normally my off shoulder sleeve is at 19 inches. I'm going to be adding 2 inches to that to give me 21, and I'll mark it there like that. And from the center, I'm going to mark like 10 inches. Then I'll mark what I have on the armhole area of the cup, and I'll create a curve on the sleeve also and make sure it corresponds to what I have on the armhole curve of the cup. Then I'll just draw a straight line from that place downwards. So this is just a simple way that I draft an off-shoulder sleeve that is going to be like a balloon sleeve that is going to carry elastic band. So after I'm done with the sleeve, the next thing that I'm going to be cutting is the pant area of this jumpsuit. Don't forget there is a pant area. Yeah, that is why it's a jumpsuit. So I already folded my crepe fabric into 2 for the front part of the pants, and the wideness that I have here is 23 inches. So from the top of the fabric here, I'm going to go directly to mark my crouch depth measurement. So my crouch depth measurement is 11 inches. I'm going to be adding 1 to that. So to get your crouch depth measurement, you can sit on a flat surface and measure from your waist to that flat surface. So this is my crouch line now. Then the starting point is going to be my waistline. So on that waistline, I'm going to be placing my round waist measurement divided by 4 times 2. So my round waist measurement divided by 4 is 8. That times 2 is going to give me 16 inches, and I will add 1 to it to make it 17. Then I place that 17 inches on both the waistline and the crouch line. So I connected those 2 lines together. And on this crouch line, I'm going to extend it by 2.5 inches to get my crouch extension. And on this corner, I'll come out by 1/2 inch to create my crouch curve together with the extension that I just created now. So this is actually very easy. The next thing that I'm going to be doing now is from the waistline, I'm going to go to where I want the full length of my pants to be. So from that waistline, I'm going to take 39 inches, which is the full length of my pants, and I'm going to be adding 3 inches to that because I want these pants to really go down, and I don't want to be short of fabric at the end of the day. Then from this crouch extension, I'm going to create a straight line and just connect to the end of the pants. Now I'm going to cut out the front pattern. So I'm just cutting from the down, then I cut the side, and I'll also cut the crouch curve area to the waist area. Then I'm also going to be slashing it at the side to open it up since my fabric is on fold. So there is no too much drama for this pants. Just make sure it's really wide. You can make yours wider than this. I'm just working with the fabric that I have. So to cut the back, I place the front pattern on a wider fabric, and I'm just going to go ahead to pin it down together so that it doesn't move. So I made sure there is some spaces at the top area and also at the side of the crouch. So I'm just extending this crouch line like this, and I'll add 2 inches to the crouch line of the back. Then on the waistline towards the crouch area, I'll go up by 1/2 inch, and I'll create another crouch curve. So from that 1 inch that I created up, I'm going to create a slant line to meet the other side of the pants there, just like you can see that I do now. So to create my zipper allowance on this back part, I'm just using 1/2 inch extension from the crouch curve of the back, as you can see. So just 1/2 inch to make sure that there's a space for zipper too on the pants. So on the other parts like this, I'm just going to add 2 inches all the way to the end to make sure that the back parts of this pant is bigger than the fronts. So that's just like a basic pants rule. So I'm just cutting it out, starting from the slant line up there. Then also I'm going to cut the down part also. So I'm just tracing it off. So can you see that to draft this pant is actually very easy because it's a very wide pant and you don't need to do too much drama when it comes to the fitting. So I'm also cutting that part that is going to serve as the zipper allowance. Then I'll also cut the side off. So that is actually basically all for the front and the back of this pants. Now the next thing that I'm going to do is to work on the pockets because I want this to have a pocket. So on my remaining fabric, I just folded it into 4 like this, and I'm going to cut out one side. I'm just going to cut it out like this so that I will have it in pieces. Then I folded this into 2, and if I want my pocket to be 7 inches wide, I took 3.5 inches on that side and 8 inches long. Then I just connected those 2 points together to create a pocket curve like this. So when I was done and I opened this up, this is what I have, and I have 4 pieces here that will serve as my pockets both on front and back. So thank you for watching. The next tutorial after this is going to be the sewing tutorial where we get to join all these pieces together to make it a dress. So kindly subscribe to this channel, give this video a thumbs up. Don't also forget to turn on your notification bell so that you'll be notified when I drop the other part of this tutorial video and also other helpful tutorials. Bye and see you in my next tutorial.